All right, evening, ladies and gents, boys and girls. Welcome to tonight's presentation, whether you're watching this live or in your group, in the 12 weeks, in the mastery, on YouTube, LinkedIn, wherever. Welcome. We're going to talk tonight about motivation, self-limiting beliefs, and the subconscious mind. Because the reason this is so important, so I talk about this all the time, the mechanics of losing body fat are very, very simple. It really is simply being in a calorie deficit and moving your body 3 or 4 times a week. So mechanically, fat loss is very, very simple. The psychological aspect of fat loss, the psychology, the emotional side of that piece of the puzzle is often a lot trickier. So we're going to talk about motivation, some self-limiting beliefs. So that could be self-limiting beliefs in anything with fat loss or any part of your life, and also how powerful the subconscious mind is. So I often get not asked a question, but told, look, Gav, I kind of know what to do. I just need to be motivated. And funnily enough, I actually recorded a separate video today on this topic. And of course, you need a bit of motivation to get going. You have to have a certain amount of motivation to say, you know what, I want to try and lose weight or I want to achieve this goal. But motivation is not going to get you to the finish line because it's finite. It runs out. You know, when the wheels of life, the cogs of life are turning really well and you're well fed and you've slept well and things are going well at home and family, life, your boss at work, it's easy to be motivated. The sun's shining, that's all very well. But what you can do when you're not motivated? I think if you ask most people if they're going to the gym, are you motivated every single morning? And I'll use myself as an example. I go to the gym every day because that's just what I do. But probably 2 or 3 night days of those weeks, I was, oh God, I just wish I could stay in bed. So if you're always going to rely on yourself to be motivated, you're going to come up short. So you don't need motivation all the time. And here's a great quote from Jim Rohn. You might have heard of this guy, old philosopher. He's dead now, unfortunately, but he was around big in the 80s, 70s, 80s, early 90s. And he said, motivation will get you started. Habit what keeps you going. I think he's absolutely right there. But more so, you've got to have that dirty, great reason why. And we're going to talk about that. And you've got to just also ignore motivation and realize the skill is doing the things you don't want to do when you don't want to do them. Let's take this a step further. And we just touched on, you need that goal and a dirty, great reason why. Of course, we all know that about setting goals, how important that is, how powerful it can be. You can't hit a goal that you can't see. It's a bit of a cliche, but it's true. If someone says, I just want to lose a little bit of weight for the summer, then guess what? They're probably just going to lose a little bit of weight. You know, that's just like a whim. It's not really a desire or a goal. But if you set some definitive goals, like I want to lose 30 pounds, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to lose exactly 30 pounds, but you're going to get close to it. You might go past it, but you need to have some definite goals. But more importantly, why motivation is overrated is you've got to have that dirty, great reason why. I don't know why I call it a dirty, great reason why. It sounds quite good. The BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal. And just going back to that before we get into leverage, that big, goal that you're passionate about, that you can attach some emotion to it. And go, using the example of weight loss, someone says, yeah, a couple of pounds before the summer. I said, that's just a whim. Like there's going to be no conviction behind that. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it's not a big deal. But if someone's got a goal, like it's going to change their life, it's going to change their health, their mobility, maybe the husband or wife is going to find them more attractive. Maybe they can have energy to play with the kids. They want to fit back into some of those clothes. They want to feel sexy and attractive again. All these different things that we all want from achieving our weight loss goals. They're reasons why. They're proper reasons why. So you need to, if things aren't working, I actually did a LinkedIn Live earlier on today, and someone asked me, said, how do I get motivated? And I said, screw motivation. You don't need it. It's not about being motivated. You need to have that goal. You need to have a dirty, great reason why you want to achieve that. And you've got to start taking action and also almost make a decision that it's going to happen. I've talked about raising standards before. You just decide, this is what I do. I'm going to make it happen whether I'm motivated or not. Because when you say you're going to make it happen, regardless of what's going on, it actually gets very, very easy. Because come rain or shine, you get up, you go for that walk, you go for the jog, you go to the gym. Come rain or shine, you're going to do something. It doesn't matter if you're hungover, you haven't had much sleep, you just do it because that's what you do. You've got a bigger goal than being relying on motivation to get you there. Let's talk about leverage. What I mean by leverage, and I use the gun pointing at the head. Leverage is really having that power behind the reason why you want to do something. And I say this as an extreme example, and you've maybe heard me talk about this before. If someone pointed a gun to your head and said, if you don't lose 30 pounds in the next 6 weeks or 10 weeks or something, I'm going to blow your brains out. Obviously, it's a scenario that will probably never happen to any of us. In fact, I know it won't. But that's real leverage, because you're not going to then get up each morning and say, you know what, I'm not going to go to the gym because I feel a bit tired. Or it's raining, so I'm just going to stay indoors, stay in bed for an extra hour. That's not going to happen. Real leverage. So you're not motivated. Well, you kind of are motivated to do it. The motivation is staying alive. But the reason is 10 out of 10 or 100 out of 100. That's what I mean by having real leverage. So think about, remember why you want to do it, why you want to achieve it. Think about envisaging that success if you do it, and feel the regret if you don't do it. Then things start to change, because then it's not just, I want to lose some weight, and if I get there, great. If I don't, you've got to really mentally visualize where you're going to be. And that's why it's very powerful to talk about it, write it down, goal setting, vision boarding, some of you are doing. So it's very, very powerful. But you've got to have that leverage. You've got to have that reason why. You've got to have that desire that's almost going to pull you to where you want to go, rather than you always pushing. Because if you're relying on yourself to push yourself there, you're going to fall short, because what you're going to do when you can't push. But when you've got something pulling as well as pushing, the job becomes that much easier. So taking this into self-limiting beliefs, that's a big part of this, because a lot of people that don't feel motivated, they haven't got a reason why, they haven't got a plan of action. Even if you've got all that, sometimes the self-limiting beliefs can be too much, because they don't really believe that it's going to happen. Obviously, if I was to say, put your hand up, I wouldn't be able to see you right now. But, virtually, put your hand up. If you've ever said one or two or more of those, or even all of those, I just can't lose weight. Hear that all the time. I can't do that. So nothing to do with weight loss, anything in life. I'm always late. There's no way it'll work. All the best men, women are taken, whatever, if you're looking for a partner. No one cares about me. I'm a failure. That's just my luck. These are some of the, 8 of the typical self-limiting beliefs that I just picked off the top of my head, just made them up. And there's hundreds, there's thousands in every area, every walk of life, every scenario. We've all got them. We've all said them, not necessarily out loud, but this is the voice that is running in our heads a lot of the time. Not for everyone and not all the time, but for certain circumstances. If you ever find yourself saying I can't, or it doesn't work, or there's this, in a self-limiting belief, just check yourself and realize that your thoughts aren't always the truth. Just because you said it to yourself and you think it doesn't mean it's true. Question it, because very often it's that bullshit story. It's just a story. And these stories, come to that in a second, these stories are from childhood, from past experiences, from how we've been brought up, from experiences at school, the people we've met, the interactions we've had. And it goes like this, really. Let's use weight loss, because obviously that's what we're talking about in this program. Let's say someone struggled with their weight ever since they're a teenager. Most people that have got a lot of weight to lose, it's usually been a 10, 20, 30-year journey. They've tried to lose weight before, and they've used a plan that doesn't work. So they think they failed. They've then given themselves evidence and to why that won't work. So when you believe something won't work, what's the point of even trying? So that story becomes a reality in your own head. The reality is it's not true, because if you did the right plan and did it correctly, you can lose weight, because everyone can lose weight. So the story that you tell yourself is just programming that you believed, and you almost believe it yourself. So those self-limiting beliefs are reinforced by the evidence that you've given yourself through the story that you made up from an experience that maybe once or twice it didn't work. And that story goes into the self-fulfilling prophecy. Excuse me. Self-fulfilling prophecy is the socio-physiological phenomenon of someone predicting or expecting something, and it's prediction or expectation coming true simply because the person believes it will, and the person's resulting behaviors align to fulfill that belief. So if you believe something to be true, you will then act out as if that's going to happen, even if it wasn't going to happen. And when it doesn't happen, because of the actions that you took, you've just proven to yourself why you can't do something or why it doesn't work. So it's like it's going around in circles. This disbelief or self-limiting beliefs creates the story creates the actions that you take or you don't take, and you've got this vicious cycle where you just keep going around believing your own bullshit. And you see it in people trying to lose weight, making money, with relationships. Relationships is a big one. You know, just an example that comes to the top of my head, you know, a lady with a guy, he's a bit of an arsehole. She finishes with him, and then she's attracted to another arsehole. He treats her the same, very badly. They split up, she's attracted to another arsehole. Why is that? She doesn't want to be with arseholes, but her beliefs, his beliefs even, happens the same way with guys and girls, that's all she's worth. And it's almost comfortable being uncomfortable. And you see it all the time in relationships. Same with money. People get a pay rise. They have that self-limiting beliefs that they're not worthy of making that money. They self-sabotage themselves. So they go from that higher income straight back to where they were before, even though it's less money, because they're more comfortable. And then they tell themselves, yeah, maybe I'm not worth 150 grand that I was paid. Maybe I'm a 50 grand person. So self-limiting beliefs, self-fulfilling prophecy, self-sabotage, they're all very closely related and linked. I can't lose weight. I've tried everything. Well, if you tried everything, you would have lost weight. So here's that scenario. You tried a few things that didn't work. This is linking back to that story. The person's always struggled to lose weight. They try again, it doesn't work. They've given themselves proof, at least that self-sabotage. And then that question, what's the point of even trying? I always fail. So you're almost setting yourself up to fail. So you're buying the food that you know you shouldn't be eating. It's in the fridge. You feel guilty for binging on it, smashing all the crap. And then you say, well, what's the point? It's not going to work anyway. I've tried before. I've tried so many times. It doesn't work. I can never lose weight. I can't find the right person. I'm not worthy of that. Self-image, self-esteem, self-belief, powerful stuff. And this is the stuff that holds people back when it comes to really making long-lasting changes when it comes to their health, their weight, and success in every area of their life. The actual physical, the mechanical things needed to lose weight are so simple. The things needed to do most things that are successful with success rather, they're actually not that hard. But the psychological aspect is what holds people back and will actually ruin them and stop them from even starting in the first place. And it all goes on between our own ears, in our own head. That negative feedback loop that I just talked about, it's that vicious circle going round and round. So let's look at the subconscious mind. And this is a phrase, it's not my phrase, I stole it, but I like it. Your subconscious is always eavesdropping on your thoughts. And this is where you have to be very careful of that inner voice. Just because you don't say these things out loud The subconscious is basically our programming, and virtually our whole life is based on the program that's gone in when we were children. School, parents, relationships, interactions with everyone, and the subconscious runs. Subconscious, giving a classic example for subconscious, you're walking across the road and out of the corner of your eye, or someone beeps, a car comes up, beeps, and you jump like a bloody cat on a hot tin roof. You didn't have to think about that. Your body just reacted in less than a split second. That's the subconscious. The subconscious is running the show. Your conscious mind, we think that we're in charge, but it's not. Our actions, our beliefs are all down. We act on the things that we believe. We don't believe the things we see the things we believe. There's another great thing. So you don't believe the things you see. If I see it, I believe it. No. When you believe it, you'll see it. There's a very big difference there. So the subconscious is very, very powerful, and it's in charge of the whole show. So it's a case of reprogramming it. So the subconscious is always eavesdropping on your thoughts. So if you talk to yourself in a negative fashion, you're basically reinforcing that programming that you've been reinforcing for the last 10, 20, 30 years of your life. So you say, I can never lose weight. The subconscious goes, great, there's a command. I can never lose weight. He says we can never lose weight, so I'm not going to lose weight. I'm going to go out my way to eat more food, not do the exercise, not take care of myself, do all the habits that are not conducive to a great mindset and losing weight. It's your self-sabotage. So the thoughts that you have consciously, be very, very careful. So what you can do is, if you say, oh, I can't do that, if you hear yourself saying that, and it's not out loud, you don't often speak to the mirror and talk to yourself. There's those core thoughts inside your head. If you hear yourself doing it, you can counteract it by saying, I can't do that yet, or I haven't learned the skills to achieve that yet. Counteract it. Actually say that. You can even say it out loud. It's a really good way of doing it. Be careful that inner dialogue, that inner voice, negative and positive. Now, you can talk yourself out of it. You can also talk yourself into things. You obviously met in your life some people that just generally have this positive outlook on life, and they're going places. And someone with a negative, I've never met anyone with a really, really negative outlook on life and, self-limiting beliefs do that well in life. In that one area of life that they're struggling with. Doesn't mean you can't be successful in other areas of your life. But of course, this subconscious will have a knock-on on a lot of things in life. Not everything, but many things. You'll be very careful. And I said that before, I've jumped ahead of my own slide. Don't believe your own thoughts. They're not always the truth. So we think that just because we said something to ourselves, we believe it. Again, it's based on our story. And that story for a lot of people is pretty bleak. I can't do this. I'm never able to do this. And look, let's face it, some people have had terrible, terrible upbringings. And it's easy for me to sit here and say, well, just change your programming. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's just a case of taking like a CD out and putting another CD in. Although it can be that simple, because you have to reprogram your mind with beliefs and thoughts that are congruent with what you're trying to achieve. So that means hanging around with the right people, reading the right books. So that takes time. You don't just say, well, I'm very negative and life's been shit and I had problems with my parents. And let's face it, our parents have only done the very best they could with what they had. So you can blame your parents for how you are. But if there's anything that's good in your life, you also need to thank them for that. And remember, we're all doing the very best with what we've got at the moment. That goes for our parents, our grandparents, and what we do to our kids. We're not perfect, we're human. But don't believe your own thoughts, or at least question your own thoughts. Our environment, school, parents, events, life, country, race, religion. Interesting thing about religion, isn't it interesting that, funny enough, half of white America is Christian based. So if you're white American, born in America, the chances are you're going to believe in Jesus and be a Christian. Isn't it interesting if you're born in India there's a high probability you're either going to be a Hindu or a Sikh, or if you're in Pakistan, maybe a Muslim. So someone's got to be right, and we can't all be right, whether you believe in God or not. There's however many religions. So your lifestyle, where you've been born into, your upbringing, your parents, completely shapes your beliefs and your body. Now, if you are to ask a Muslim and a Christian, who's the God? The Christian would say God, Jesus, the Muslim, Allah, and the Quran. We both can't be right. So environment, school, parents, and events of life is everything. It affects everything. But deep down, we're all the same. I just wish that people realize that. It's very, very powerful. So I thought I'd just end the presentation with a few nice quotes. Thoughts become things. I didn't say that. It was Buddha, apparently. It was some guy back in the two millenniums or 2 centuries before Christ, or wherever he was. He was apparently an intelligent, enlightened chap. Thoughts become things. You get what you think about most of the time. So if you're thinking bad things, thinking negative things, you're going to attract. If you're thinking about money and debt all the time, you're going to attract more debt. If you're thinking about being positive and how I can make money, that's what you're going to get. If you're thinking I can never do something, guess what? You're manifesting those thoughts. You're going to show up in your real life. So be thinking about what you want to achieve, not what you don't want to achieve. Thoughts become things. Very, very powerful. And this is one of my favorite quotes. Wayne Dyer, unfortunately, another guy who died about 5-6 years ago, sort of philosophical, spiritual teacher. I love this quote. When we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. And that's a bit kind of connected to that. We don't see what we believe what we, no, the other way around. We don't believe what we see what we believe. And this is the scenario where 2, 3, 4, 5, 100 people could look at the same incident or same scenario happening live on the street, yet every single person would have a different perception, a different viewpoint, a different opinion of what actually went on. When the reality is it happened the way it did, but we will interact with that perception of what happened based on what we believe. So a situation could happen, someone could get murdered in the street. I'll use an extreme example. Someone could get stabbed in the street, and someone could look at that and be totally calm, call for the doctor, call the police, because based on what's happened in their life. The next person could literally freak out. And on a smaller level, that's why stress isn't necessarily stressful for everyone. It's all about perception. The same situation could be actually a calm situation for one person, could be highly stressful for another. So if we know this, we can potentially not judge people as much as we all do. And we all judge people. It's our job to judge people, but maybe look at things from a different perspective. But when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. I think that's really, really powerful. You could then go down the whole avenue of what is really reality and the universe. And some of Wayne Dyer's videos and books kind of go out there a bit woo-woo, a bit spiritual, a bit deep. Might be worth looking into, but just love that phrase. And there we are. I'm actually too good for my own slides, because you don't believe what you see what believe. I mentioned that about 3 or 4 times throughout the presentation. All right, that's the end of the presentation, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. See you in the next module.